the Tally Tales podcast. Today, we have an amazing human being who runs the virtual reality center in Railroad Square. His name is Nick Suttell. I'm Jim Odie, the host. Let's start out by asking you the name of your operation, since I couldn't call it. I remember the Center for Alternative Reality, which was the original name. But
Right, and that's the longer name.
I know.
From before. Well, the name of the company is New World Rides.
New World Rides.
Yeah, because we focus on providing locomotion to virtual reality experiences.
Okay.
Yeah, locomotion. VR has a big locomotion problem with the technology.
Right.
And so.
What do you mean by that? Explain that to people that don't know that much about VR.
So it's a really interesting instinct that we all have. You know, it really comes down to when you put the headset on and it blocking out the real world.
Right.
There's all these other features like the fact that it's stereoscopic, making it 3D, the high resolution display, and a couple other features. Like they do a really good job of tricking your brain into thinking what you're seeing is real. The issue comes when you start accelerating through that virtual space.
Right.
Because now your brain is seeing that you're accelerating, but your vestibular system in your ears is not feeling it. So you're creating mixed signals now. These mixed signals are a big deal because your brain's used to them being in sync. Right, like you see a step.
Right, and I'm trying to step.
Yeah, you know, it's called presence when it's like that, when you forget where you actually are and you're just convinced that, oh, that's a table, I can lean on that. And so when you create the mixed signals, what happens, the instinct that comes about is your brain thinks that you're hallucinating from ingesting something poisonous.
Right.
Kind of like when you take shrooms and you start like tripping. A lot of people experience nauseousness,
right?
Because it's a poison in your body, and so that's what happens. Your brain tells your body to try to regurgitate whatever poisonous substance you may have ingested to save you. Your brain thinks you're dying.
Right.
And so a lot of people have come up with several different workarounds with that. You know, a lot of.
Give us some examples. What kind of workaround?
So one example is they will take the whole field of view and they'll constrain it when you start accelerating. So you're looking around, it looks great, and then you start moving forward, and then it goes like this to make it think like it's a window. Right. You know, you don't experience nauseousness when you're playing a racing sim. At least most people don't, because it's a flat screen. You got your fixed reference frame on your peripherals. Your brain's like, okay, I'm not actually in this car, so I'm good. I can do all this crazy accelerations and stuff. But as soon as you block all that out, your brain is convinced that that's where you are. Other tricks include teleportation. So as far as locomotion, you just teleport to another spot. Like say I want to move over there in VR, and I just teleport over there.
Oh, cool. Like Star Trek.
Yeah. Right. You know, there's also translation. You can also translate, right? When you're in a game, that's usually how you move around in a video game.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if there's no acceleration at all, meaning if it's instantaneous, if you're instantaneous going to a speed, it makes it a little bit more comfortable.
Right.
Because it comes down to acceleration. If there's no acceleration, it's easier. Like if you're just moving straight at a constant speed with the headset on, there's no acceleration. And so your brain doesn't need to feel any acceleration. Electrical vestibular stimulators, like these pads, these electrical pads, as far as another solution goes, to, you know, artificially stimulate your vestibular system.
Right.
To trick it like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty like recent technology. It's artificial, so it doesn't do a good job of fully convincing your brain, like, okay, I'm accelerating this way, it's difficult. Our solution is to actually move you with what you're seeing.
Is actually move you with what you're seeing.
To actually move, to actually accelerate with the visuals.
Okay.
Now, is that even when people are? I notice you have the big machine, which you can describe for us later, and then the headsets, which more people are familiar with, the Oculus.
Right.
I'm assuming you have the latest version of the Oculus. Or what headsets do you use?
So we use the Meta Quest 3 for the arena games, where you're walking around, and then for the ride, which rotates all the way upside down on a gimbal, we use the Valve Index VR headset for that. So that's a headset that's tethered to a computer, to a tower PC, and it's just got better visual fidelity to it, more comfortable.
Right.
And, yeah. Plus, it's developed by Valve, which is my favorite company.
Developed by who?
Yeah. Valve,
Okay.
a private game development
Why are
company
they your
and
favorite
hardware.
company? Because why are they your favorite company?
Well,
They design your favorite
a lot of
games.
other things. Yeah, they designed some of my favorite games back in the day. A lot of them are ex-Microsoft not CEO, but ex-Microsoft, developers that left in the '90s or whenever.
That's smart.
So they developed, all the games and all the stuff that they develop are all game-changing products. So one of the first games they made was called Half-Life, and that's a first-person shooter game that most gamers know about, and it really set the bar for future games to come out. They did it with the sequel, and then now they're doing it with the VR version of the game. It's called Half-Life Alyx, and that's their first VR game. And
cool.
then they started getting into hardware at a certain point, like in the 2000s, making some game consoles and some other types of hardware, and then they started making VR headsets. And so the Valve Index was their most recent headset, and they're working on a headset now that is it has a brain-computer interface aspect to it.
Oh, cool.
So it's similar to Neuralink, except it's not invasive.
Right.
So they're just using electrodes to basically read your mind. They'll be able to know where you're looking, and they can you can give commands that way.
Right.
just by thinking.
Right. Interesting. That's pretty
It's
cool.
amazing.
That's very,
Yeah.
very intense.
Yeah.
So the big machine you've got, who manufactures that? Is it?
We made it.
Okay.
We built it. We designed and built it. And so I just used my experience from engineering school and
Right.
drawing and computer-aided design
Awesome.
software.
Awesome. So that's your own machine. Interesting. You're
Yeah.
more incredible than I thought.
Yeah.
Who
well,
helped you? Would you say we?
So I guess one of the biggest helps was the other founder of the company. His name's Tuyen. He's an electrical engineer. And so we met in grad school at FSU.
Yeah.
And he was able to really help me out on the electrical aspect and the motor control side of things.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because going into it, I had no idea how to program these motor drives,
Right.
all the different kinds of motors and stuff. I had no idea. And so he really stepped up and was very, very useful in designing a safe electrical system
Right,
for
awesome.
everything. Yeah.
And from what I have seen from my brief times in your shops, I've been in both of them. Of course, the new one is a lot nicer. The floor there is absolutely incredible, epoxied with images from the James Webb telescope. Just unbelievable. When you walk in there, you'll be blown away. I guarantee you. And mats on the floor so you can't fall down and get hurt. I did that at the old place. So anyway, Nick, tell people how they can experience this new technology and where you're at exactly, and what it will cost somebody to do it, and what kind of programs you have. Do you have any situations where you hold parties there for people? If somebody wants to bring all their kids in that are way into virtual reality.
Yeah.
Give us a rundown on what you've got available.
So the main services are the ride and the arena. So those are kind of the main things we've got. The ride seats 2 riders. It rotates all the way upside down. And it's a mission to fly through an asteroid and collect alien artifacts.
Wow.
Just out of curiosity, does anyone ever get sick in there?
On rare occasions, the people who do get nauseous, and it's like 1-2% of all riders, maybe even less.
Right.
They get nauseous simply by going upside down.
So they puke on themselves. No, I'm kidding.
Because when we designed this experience, it's called Shuttle 39, this asteroid mining game. I made sure to make the motion really kind of smooth and controlled and not jerky.
Right.
It's not like a typical carnival ride where you're just spinning
round
and round over and over
I
again.
went to the virtual reality rides at the fair years ago. It was horrible. I mean, it was not a good.
It's
get
more
your back out of alignment and everything else.
It's more about the visual fidelity, the comfort of it, and the fact that the riders are the pilots and they're in control of the rotation.
Right.
So that gives you a little bit more agency. It gives you a little bit more of what to expect as far as the motion goes. But we do throw some other kind of unexpected aspects.
I remember years ago at Disney World, they had a lady from England. When I was there, there was all this hubbub about the lady from England that died in that mission control ride, where you similar to what you're what you're talking about, you land.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been in that ride.
Is that Disney, you said?
Yeah, Disney. I was
have
at
been
a
back in the
Universal. No, I was in Disney, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I actually had a lady from England died. She had, some sort of condition that
Yeah.
it
It's
exasperated.
real tragic, when people pass away when you're trying to have fun. Carnival rides can be sketchy sometimes because they're taking them down and setting them up every other week, something crazy like that.
And you're dealing with human beings.
You're dealing with human beings, yeah. So we started off by just designing the ride, just as kind of like a thought experiment. Came up with I was trying to, I guess, I always had issues with motion sickness on roller coasters and, rides like that. There's some that I couldn't go on, some I was all right on. But always thought that it'd be kind of an interesting project to create a motion ride that also had a nice kind of heavy dose of visuals,
Right.
and audio or music to go along with the experience. And so I was trying to think of a cool way to do that. And it was in 2013 I had the epiphany, right? And so I had this idea come to me. I was doing research on how 3D printers worked. I was just watching YouTube videos on how they worked.
Right.
And that's when the idea came to me of kind of taking the 3D printer design, making it larger, and using the printer head as like where the cars are, where the passengers are.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And you just add a gimbal on there. Now you have rotation and translation in all directions. You can program it all. And so I started drawing in CAD and had a bunch of ideas that got scrapped, and then worked on it over time, and eventually got a patent for it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me ask you this: did you use local metal fabricators? How did you? Because I know it's a design. It's a unique thing. You can just go out and buy parts.
Right.
Did you have somebody fabricate the metal?
Other than so as far as the metal goes, I tried to keep the design as simple as possible and only using steel tubes and straight segments that you can cut at an angle, weld together, and then we cut the plastic pieces, and they have curves on it, and that's kind of what makes it not look as polygons, like it's just a bunch of polygons, like the Cybertruck or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's all just straight steel members that with the chop, we just used a simple chop saw like an angle, and we welded it together and cut it all. And I had one of the artists, our art director for Shuttle 39, helped me build the ride.
Awesome.
Yeah, he wanted to get some hands-on experience with machine work and stuff, and so we were able to make it happen.
What's the art director's name?
His name is Michael.
Okay.
And Michael Taylor, and we were roommates for the time. He not originally, but he went to school up here, and we became roommates. And he was a really good artist too. He was just really smart in general. And so it just worked out for us. He would come over after work. We'd work 5 to 8 p.m. on weeknights to get the ride built, and built it in about 8 months or so.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So just chop saw, got a welder. I met a machinist at FSU, and that probably to answer your question a little bit further. This machinist is amazing. I would meet with him, and he would give us pointers on some of the more, I guess, intricate parts, couplers, stuff like that. He knows the typical way of how it should be machined, helped me out with some machining and some water jetting.
Right.
And so using the water jet, being able to cut steel sheets with a very kind of nice looking pattern, symmetric pattern, that just helped so much to make the ride not look like a junkyard.
Did you ever have to disassemble it and reassemble it?
Yeah.
Several times.
But that's where drawing it in CAD was so beneficial.
Right.
Because you do it in CAD and you're able to rotate it and everything. You're like, oh, well, there's interference there. Or that doesn't look right. Or I can make that more efficient. So we rebuilt the ride digitally a bunch of times, saving our backs, saving money when it really came down to putting it together. But, had to cut some welds here and there. Had to rework something. I would weld something and take a look and it'd be crooked, and so I'd have to redo it. But nothing too major, thankfully.
Now, all the elaborate construction and from what I've heard from folks that I've ridden, it's absolutely fabulous, and it seems to be very reasonably priced.
The ride
The
itself,
ride, yeah. So tell people your website. So if anyone wants to go online and book either an engagement to ride in that ride or to have a group come in so they can rotate doing the ride and they can be doing the headsets in the meantime. So I think that would be a fantastic place to have a kids party, because kids are so much further along than we are when it comes to
Digital
virtual
devices.
reality and digital devices. That I think that would be. I think you're sitting on a gold mine over there. You're going to need another operation soon on their north side. So start thinking about constructing it. And the second one will be easier to build, I'm sure.
Exactly. Like, I feel like if I can make it work in Railroad Square, I can make it work almost anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Most definitely.
Which is one benefit of being down there. If I was in like Miami, where they're charging $50, we charge $15 a rider.
Right.
They're charging $50 for a similar thing. And they can get away with it down there. And I think that trying to start in a place like that would make it difficult to replicate.
Right. We're happy you're here in Tallahassee. And, the podcast is centered around Tallahassee, people, interesting places. So I want to ask you, how long have you been in Tallahassee? Where are you from originally?
Originally from St. Petersburg, Florida. Came up here in 2007 to start freshman year at FSU.
So you went all the way through. You got your master's degree or a PhD or what?
PhD. I was able to skip the master's and go to.
Oh, cool.
They have a BS to PhD program in the engineering school.
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Really a good deal.
Yeah.
I was business originally. Switched during my
you got smart
sophomore year. Yeah. Switched sophomore year. So after my undergrad took 6 years, and then they have a BS to PhD program where they pay you as a PhD student in grad school if you get the assistantship and then the tuition waiver. Like, it really was a good deal.
Awesome.
And that took 4 years. So I graduated in 2017.
What was your dissertation on?
Dissertation was on. It was on modeling and simulating cryogenic superconducting power devices. And so what that means, like in layman terms, is using a computer to model thermodynamics and heat transfer aspects of a superconducting power cable or power devices.
Right. That was layman's term. I like that. That's still a little bit technical.
Really cold stuff, liquid nitrogen temperatures. And so there's a lot of insulation and vacuum chambers that goes into it, and trying to find an efficient way of doing that. So the Navy was interested in using this for all electric ships, and they wanted to use helium gas as opposed to liquid nitrogen as the coolant, because at that temperature helium is still a gas, so it's lighter. It is, and it doesn't cause asphyxiation. So like, if they used a bunch of liquid nitrogen on an electric ship, inside the ship, and it boils off, it could cause asphyxiation issues. But the issue is helium's pretty expensive, and it's a shitty coolant. And so that was kind of like the trade-offs that they needed modeling for, and it's pretty expensive to try to test. So that's where I got all the CAD experience, a lot of experience using engineering applications on the computer, which helped a lot when it came to designing the ride.
All right, let's switch gears. And you've been in Tallahassee now for, 16 years? You said 2007?
Since 2007, yeah.
And I want to ask you your impressions on the natural landscape of Tallahassee, because we're in a very unique area. So I was just curious as to, have you done much hiking in the woods or checked out any of the wonderful spots? And if so, what are some of your favorite places in the Tallahassee area, not just Tallahassee?
Well, I haven't ventured too far outside of Tallahassee, but I love the landscape because it doesn't really feel like you're in Florida when you're here. Other than the temperature in the summer, it's still really high here. But the hills, the trees, all the trees. I love how there's so many trees around here.
Agreed. Do you ever
so green?
Do you ever go to any of the parks? Or?
So I guess the Tallahassee parks, like San Luis.
Good place to get chanterelles.
Tom Brown sometimes.
Yeah.
Good place to get what?
Chanterelles.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the summertime. And but they're all over the place. But I was just recently on Lake Hall at McClay Gardens and forgot how beautiful that place is. During the spring when all these, it's a visual paradise. It's almost just the visual stimulation will change your consciousness immediately. It's fantastic. We were on the lake for the eclipse, and me and a friend of mine who was fishing, he was actually untying the knots in 6 different reels. He never got around to fishing, but I could not believe how beautiful that place is. There was nobody there.
Nobody there. It's quiet here.
Yeah.
Much quieter than St. Pete. And so one huge benefit of going to school here and starting the company here is the low rent.
Right.
It's like half of what I'd be paying in St. Pete.
Right.
It's not as crowded, and
And you can only handle so many people at a time in your shop, so
Right.
you don't need that many people.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that more and more people are becoming interested in virtual reality. And I remember one of the last times I was over at your shop, I noticed there was a bunch of kids in there doing it, and showing their parents how to do it, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Little 8-year-old kids.
Yeah.
Who were saying, "Oh,
a lot of times the kids are picking it up faster than the adults.
Yeah.
So, with the arena, we can currently get up to 6 players at a time. Actually, I think it's 8 now, but you're wearing a wireless VR headset, and they're all free roam games. So you can freely roam around the space and play games with the other players. So you can see their avatars, and the positions are calibrated, so that's how you don't bump into them.
I was going to say, how do you keep people from bumping into each other?
And so I think one of the biggest, advantages that our games have is it's a great combination of digital entertainment and physical activity, because the fact that you're moving around, you're actually using your body.
Right.
And a common misconception about VR is that you're just going to put this headset on and it's like you're going to be somewhere else, and your body's just going to be worthless here.
Right.
And then you're going to get lost in the metaverse or whatever and get addicted to it and everything, which will probably happen with some cases, just like regular video games do.
Yeah.
But with our games, you're actually moving your body. You're walking around, you're bending over. With the laser tag, you're dodging bullets. It's super competitive.
Right.
And we had our first tournaments recently for that, with cash prize and everything. And people
cool.
are winded after the game. It's exercise.
How did that go?
Yeah.
How did that first tournament go?
Great.
Like ultimate frisbee, huh?
Still trying to build up some momentum with people who haven't heard about it.
Right.
Which is one of our biggest hurdles, is educating people on what it is that we do. And so we have a spiel that we give most people that come in.
How are you reaching out to people? And, you going to any of the schools and letting them know that you're out there? Or just curious how you're marketing your products?
Currently, I haven't been marketing much at all.
Haven't needed to, probably.
It probably would have helped. I am going through a change of use with the city right now, with the space that I'm in, to try to, I need to get a different use permit for that space so that I can actually do events like birthday parties and field trips and stuff.
Okay.
We've been doing some here and there. We've been getting some field trips and everything. But most of it has just been being on Google, and word of mouth. We've been doing okay.
Word of mouth, I found after running a business myself with my brothers for 25 years, we never advertised after the first few years. You didn't need to. If you do good work, you have a wonderful product, it's going to sell itself.
Right.
You don't have to try to get out there and push it on people.
Yeah.
Because just make people aware that it's there. And a lot of people have never, in this area, people listening to this have never even experienced virtual reality.
Right.
But I'll tell you, it's definitely the wave of the future, and I think everybody needs to have a trip into virtual reality to change their awareness and to realize there's a lot more going on than on the surface what we see.
And that's the goal of VR, at least from our perspective, is, and we get a lot of people who are like, nah, I like real life. I'm good. I don't need VR. Well, the goal of VR is to provide temporary experiences that benefit your real life, improve the quality of your real life.
You can ask these people if they watch television. I bet they do. What is the difference really?
And so the purpose is for like temporary experiences, whether it's training or therapy or education or entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, they're way more effective when it's in VR, when you can actually see it, you can actually rotate it and
I can imagine, especially learning, you know, instead of just reading this book or having them show
hands-on.
diagrams, it's like, oh, hey,
interactive
actually,
and blocking out all the other distractions.
Right.
That's a huge power. Not
Solely
just
focused.
making it 3D and everything, but blocking all the other shit out.
You're just
so that
focused
you can actually
on what's
It's like a sensory
Because kids
deprivation,
have so many distractions now.
experience. I remember years ago seeing Jared Lanier, the guy that founded all the grants Dad had down to his, it was with some general, and the guy was totally down on not only the way the guy looked, but virtual reality. He thought it was bullshit. But he said how much money it costs to fly a sortie, mission with these planes. And so he went in there and experienced it. Could not believe it was. He said this will save us thousands upon thousands of dollars because we can train virtually. Instead of, because there's no difference. You can feel the G-force, everything. The most sophisticated, virtual reality setups that are out there.
Was this a recent?
This was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I went to a Sony convention probably longer ago than that, and they were showing us, it was Sony Professional, they were showing us technology that wasn't going to be released to the public for years because they have to pay the R&D cost. You know how that development goes. And man, some of the stuff we saw was amazing. You go in and partake of Marilyn Monroe's love if you want to. It's seemingly real.
So having the arena is really nice. We haven't developed any arena games. We've been licensing them, but it's been a great complement to the ride. And ever since we built the ride, I've been on this, I've been trying to find out what's the best way to sell it.
Right.
Originally, the thought was, we just sell it to other operators like District A50 or Hangar 38 or theme parks and stuff like that. But I'm beginning to realize that might not be the best way to do it because the technology is so new. Operators aren't used to operating it.
Right.
They don't want that.
It'll damage the reputation of the product if there's somebody that does.
If they don't operate it properly.
Plus, you can just, it's going to be worlds better than anything they offer. So you can just put one over there.
Maybe, is the venue the prototype that we want to
Have you since after having the machine in operation and you played with it quite a bit, you sent me a really fantastic YouTube video of you riding it with another guy. Have you thought of any improvements, like a next generation that you're going to do?
For the physical system or the video game? Or for both?
For both.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Lots of little things here and there. The initial design for the Roto Loco, which is what the motion platform is called, is pretty good. But there's some little things here and there that can be improved to improve maintenance, improve issues if we had a part fail. Like if one of the slip rings failed, which is the part that transfers power through a rotating device, there's one that's like encased in a steel thing.
Do you test it occasionally? I mean, you look at it after the end of the day?
Every day, at the end of the day, we strap all the seats up and the seat belts so that the next day, the first person that comes in and opens, they do a test. They do a motion test.
Gotcha.
And rotate it upside down, make sure it all looks good, sounds good, and everything like that. So after getting strapped in and doing the tutorial, it's about 8 to 10 minutes for the game. So throughput is an issue. Throughput currently is kind of long just because the tutorial isn't part of the game. The operator has to give the tutorial every single time, which is a pain after a while.
So you said last time you were doing something to prepare them ahead of time. Didn't you develop some sort of training program for people before?
I need to. Yeah, I need to. Right now we just kind of walk them through it initially, and then we start the ride. Little things here and there to like improve throughput and stuff like that. And it's stuff that if I were to sell it to someone else and try to learn through them, it would be a lot longer. It wouldn't be as smooth of a process, working with someone remotely. Plus there's a lot of safety concerns with it. And just making sure that people who are operating it are properly trained is really important. Like with the Orlando drop tower death that occurred. Something like that can just happen when someone's just trying to make the ride more accessible for people. you know,
Right.
when he's trying to do the right thing, or
Right.
he thinks he's doing the right thing, and then in reality, it can cost him
I
his life.
wonder, since Akasha jumped up here, I thought of something. Has anyone ever done any experiments on dogs and their reaction to virtual reality?
I don't know. I see memes all the time with pet animals with
Right.
headsets
Yeah,
on.
yeah. I'm curious as to, what they're,
Oh, yeah.
very curious as
Okay.
to what they're seeing anyway.
So
But
this
what,
is insane. They tested a VR headset on a rat.
oh, yeah.
They got these bifocals in
Yeah.
the computer and they had it suspended over the rat, and the rat was on a treadmill or
That's pretty
something.
intelligent,
Right.
yeah.
And the rat was trying to go through a maze in VR. And they're trying to incentivize it with cheese or whatever. Yeah, that's the rats on
Cool.
VR.
Cool. Dogs will be soon.
Dogs would be funny.
All right, is there anything else you want to add about VR that you think people would be interested in hearing? And that's not necessarily related to your business, or it could be related to what you're doing, since you're all about educating people.
Yeah, I think that it has a lot of potential useful applications in so many different disciplines. The Palmer Luckey, who developed the Oculus Rift, he would always say that VR is not the next computing platform; it's the final computing platform, because it's fully encompassing. How more immersive can you get than that?
Well,
Going to the fourth dimension.
What about quantum VR? Is that on the horizon?
I don't even know if we can even explain that. What that is.
Yeah, explain quantum computing in itself. It's pretty amazing though to think about how much information that it can process in how short a period of time.
One thing I'm really looking forward to is not having to use a smartphone anymore and just having it all in my glasses here. I just feel like that would be really freeing.
Oh yeah. Not having to worry about losing it and having this and the other.
And being just more, I think it'll make people more present.
Yeah.
A common concern is that it will do the opposite of that, because you have windows up and everything,
Right,
and you're
right,
distracted. But
Right.
if you do it the right way, you can do it in a way that makes you more present. It makes you healthier.
Well, I don't like
as an
wearing
individual.
glasses. I wore glasses for most of my life, and I don't wear contacts. I just healed my vision. Not an easy process, but this is one
LASIK?
worthwhile. And so, what's the future if you're not going to wear glasses? No contacts or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
That might even be more
Maybe a
annoying.
pin
Yeah.
on your shirt
Yeah.
that like emits a
Now
holographic
that
thing.
one, there you go.
There's already one out that's has recently been released. It costs $700. It's a pin on your shirt, and it puts out a holographic thing that you show on your hand.
Right.
So it shows you like the time and some stuff like that. And but it's got AI in it. It connects to the internet and it uses ChatGPT.
Oh, cool.
It can use several other AI models, and you can just talk to it regularly.
Yeah.
So-
Well,
And then
I'll
just
buy
whatever
one of
you wanna
those when it's
see.
$100.
Yeah.
Which won't be long, and it'll be a better version of it. Because typically that happens. The first version is, overpriced and sold to the early adopters and people who just have to have the newest toy.
The Neuralink is interesting, though, as far as potential for solving mental illnesses like Alzheimer's and blindness, even speech issues, speech impediments, muscle issues.
It's all about retraining the brain. There's like Dr. Joe Dispenza that's out there teaching people how to overcome diseases they've had for 20 years just by retraining the brain, because the brain is telling your body what to do.
Yeah.
And so the brain is telling you you're healthy, you're going to be healthy. You have a new body every 7 minutes, or your cells are reborn, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I've never seen in a Neuralink talk, when Elon Musk is talking about it or when any of the other Neuralink people are talking about it, are issues of dependency with it. Like, what happens if it gets so good that you can write to the brain? Maybe introduce a dopamine rush,
Right.
for instance, or maybe people think they're seeing. You can just close your eyes and you can see a bunch of stuff. How is that going to mess with your brain? We know how it does it with chemicals. How is it going to do it with electricity? or you lose power, and now all of a sudden you don't have all your natural, you're off balance. Is it going to make you unbalanced?
It's scary. I would prefer taking lion's mane mushroom myself for Alzheimer's, because it does reduce. It causes new nerve growth. I'm a firm believer in the natural world and giving us everything we need.
Yeah.
And Neuralink's got a lot of potential, but it's also scary. It's like
It's
AI.
not natural
AGI is
your
very
brain.
scary as well. AI is. People have said that about any technology. Oh, it's going to take
Anything.
over.
The internet.
Oh, yeah, it's going to run everything.
Yeah.
The ARPANET, which was the original internet. Yeah, we hopped on way back in the day. It was military. A lot of good technologies comes from the military. Yeah. But then the military usurps a lot of good technology from other people, like the virtual reality guys and supposedly from aliens. We'll find out in time.
Yeah, right.
All right, anything else you want to add?
So the website is newworldrides.com. If you're in Tallahassee, if you're local, or if you're just visiting, it's really easy to make a reservation through the website. It's free to reserve online.
And what are your hours of operation?
So we are currently Thursday through Sunday, 12 to 8 p.m.
Okay.
So thinking about expanding to Wednesday through?
Yeah, at some point, once I finish this change of use process, which it's just been such a pain. So it's such a learning process with this new location, but hopefully it'll be beneficial down the road.
Well, I know that you designed all this stuff and it's critical. Have you trained anyone, some of these younger kids that are really smart, that can pick up on stuff, do you feel confident to leave the business for, a week and leave it in the hands of, do you have enough people on?
I have one operator who's been around, who's been with us for a year or two. He's really good with operating the ride and everything else, really good with customers. And
looking for anyone else?
Recently hired a few others that we're training right now.
Oh, cool.
And so training the arena is not that difficult.
Right.
The ride still has some bugs and stuff that as soon as you learn those, you can easily work around it. But because of the safety issues, there's some safety concerns, right? But with this ride especially, just because it's not in its finished final version.
Yeah, so the operator could screw it up. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll be able to make this location successful this year, and then I'd probably be looking to maybe start another location as soon as possible, as soon as that happens.
Well, it seems to me that the people are strapped in the machine, been in it, seen it, and even if it malfunctioned, you wouldn't result in a serious injury.
During the ride, if they're strapped in fine, and no one else is encroaching on the ride, it's going to be in between rides that could cause an issue.
Okay.
We have this pin that we use for the pitch axis, that if it's not in there, and if there's a power loss, the seats fly up. And so there's pinch points. And then if an operator is on the platform and that happens, they get launched.
Right.
So if the operator forgets to put the pin in and they go up to the ride with the drive still enabled, that's where you can cause serious injury.
Right.
Yeah. So
you
got to be on your P's and Q's, as they say.
Yeah. There's no backup for that. You don't have a way of
And
when you put the
that.
pin in, it gives you the signal the pin's in. So if you don't hear that signal, you think to put the pin in. Have you thought about any additional safety precautions? Just curious.
Yeah. So newer motors now have brakes on them. So if there's a power loss, it locks the shaft.
Right.
That's one of them. That's the main one, really. They already have built in to the drive safety features. Like if it notices too much resistance, it stops. It turns off the drive. And little things like that too.
Cool.
So we'll see how this next year goes.
All right. Well, Nick Suttell, is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yeah,
Nick Suttell. Yeah. Wonderful human being. We're fortunate to have him in Tallahassee and to bring New World Rides to Tallahassee. He could have done it in St. Pete, but he chose Tallahassee. I don't know if anyone down there is doing what you're doing.
No, not yet.
So Tallahassee, once again, is on the forefront of technology, and this is a vortex for power. We're on the same ley lines as the pyramid. So it's interesting that Nick Suttell showed up here to do this for the community, and I strongly urge everybody to go support New World Rides because it will enhance your life. I can't say it'll change it, but it will enhance
It'll
it.
enhance it for sure. That's the whole goal.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up.
Tallytales.net. We love everybody that's listening to this as Bella did. So tell a lot of Bella stories in the future. All right, stay tuned. Love y'all. Peace.